So, welcome to today's episode of The Breach Room, where we sit down with some of the sharpest minds in the cybersecurity industry. This episode is powered by Alterame. At Alterame, we help cybersecurity firms break free from the outdated methods of lead generation, such as networking events, conferences, and even relying on referrals to get more clients, which is often more wishful thinking than a real growth strategy. With our battle tested data driven client acquisition system, you have clients coming to you with no chasing, no guesswork, and just predictable compounding growth. So if you're in cybersecurity, and you're looking to scale your business and see the results within the first week, PM me the word growth for a free consultation. And now, without further ado, we have Brandie Kayser, the CTO of Rochester's IT Business Solutions. Brandy, how are you doing today?
Terrific. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so much fun.
I'm so honored to have you here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
So, Brandie Kayser, our business is, as you said, Rochester IT and Business Solutions. Though, because that's a big mouthful, we just refer to it as Rock IT. It's easier. We're based in Rochester, New York, and everything here is rock this or rock that. So, as we were fledging in this market, we wanted to kind of give that tacit
I
nod
like
that
it.
we were here to stay, part of the community, and all of that. Yeah. And it is a wonderful place to live. We moved up here about 5 years ago during COVID. We could work remotely, so decided that Long Island was no longer for us.
Okay, but yeah, I was going to say, who would move to New York during the pandemic? All right, you were already kind of in New
So
York.
we were already here, and that fair. And we grew up on Long Island, and my husband in Brooklyn, and it's beautiful there. And we have great friends that we miss every day. But Rochester offered a lot of advantages for us. So here we are. And then as far as my background goes, I've got more than a minute of career experience in healthcare and medical technology, and actually have a master's of business with a healthcare admin focus. And now we've, of course, become cybersecurity experts in support of our clients.
That's so interesting. How did you end up in that particular niche of doing cybersecurity for healthcare? It's extremely specific.
It is. And it was a long and winding road for sure. Funny enough, I won't talk about the entire trip through my life, but my first job in junior high school was actually for an eye doctor. I went in to get my first pair of glasses, and he needed someone to file and answer phones after the office manager went home. And that was it. I just loved healthcare from there. So once I graduated from college, I went on to become a sales rep in the eye care industry and progressively more technical products as we went along, culminating in a wonderful opportunity 6 years at IBM in their healthcare division until they spun it off to private equity a couple of years ago. And you know that story. Private equity goes to get, cut some bottom line. And myself and 149 other people were released into the wild. But you know what? If I was the CFO at the time, I would have done the same. And they were really great about it. So it was a big gift because it allowed me to fulfill my dream of becoming an IT consultant. So it worked out for the best for everyone.
And how was that transition from going into I work at an I place to make sure to answer the phones to IBM to now being the CTO of your own firm? I feel like that's so much growth throughout your lifespan. And a lot of those skills, you probably just didn't were born with them. You had to acquire along the way.
Very much so. The skill that I was born with is, well, a couple: resilience, tenacity, and curiosity. So, as I said, throughout my career, the jobs that I held became increasingly more technical. And that was on purpose because I really found that I had a skill set for learning those kind of things really fast and an interest in doing so. And still, I mean, people tease me about what a nerd I am. And my husband's a nerd too. In fact, when I introduced my now husband, then boyfriend, to my father. He looked at me and said, can't you like find a jock like everybody else? What's with all these nerds?" And I said, "Well, Dad, I am their queen." So, yeah. So, and my husband is, don't tell him I said this because he thinks he's very cool. And he's a guitar player and like a rock star also. But his Clark Kent persona is nerdy like me.
He just keeps that home.
Exactly.
Share a little bit more about your role as a CTO and what that actually looks like on a day-to-day basis.
Sure. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. As any entrepreneur, it's a lot of hats. It's a lot of hats. So, what my husband and I, so he's my partner in all things, the business as well and as in life. And he ran a very successful IT business prior to us moving to Rochester and joining forces. His experience is in hardware and networking and infrastructure. Then mine was always in software anyway, with my prior experience. So I doubled down on that and understood the need for cybersecurity, particularly for the small to medium sized businesses that we serve most. And the more I learned about it, and the more I learned about just the exponential explosion of hacking that we've seen in the last 5 or 6 years. I know it's been much longer than that. We hit some kind of critical mass a few years ago, and I just knew that the kind of clients I wanted to help were completely out of their element when it came to that kind of thing, and that was a place that we could really serve most. I'm still feeling really right about that decision. We've helped a lot of clients,
And think
doing
about
good and doing well together is really great. But it's never a dull moment either. So as I said, lots of hats. I'm also chief marketing officer, facilities maintenance, billing and accounts receivable, like all of it.
that's a lot of work. And in the marketing department, like what are some of the things you're responsible for?
Well, the breadth of it or of our focus is social media. We don't really advertise in the classic sense, like you're not going to hear us doing radio ads or anything like that, mostly because of cost. We like our clients have a pretty limited budget when it comes to those things, time and money wise. So I network as much as I possibly can with other local business owners, which is 90% of where we get our leads. And of course, we have a website, but it's the social media that is my focus. And we have kind of a rule where for every one totally adversarial, that's not the word, advertising post that we do, that's just like, "Please pick us." We have to do at least 2 or 3 public service announcement type, and I always like those best anyway, because we do want small, medium-sized businesses that are trying to do as much as they can on their own to still be safe. I don't advise trying to do all of that on your own. It's complicated, but at least I want them to have a mindfulness around all the threats that they could encounter and help them start to make plans. So even if I'm just doing that on social media posts or wonderful opportunities like this, that's most of our marketing.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. And I feel like it's important for them to read that and start getting that cybersecurity awareness. And like you said, I don't recommend to go do it all by yourself, but it's important that you fully understand and start making that cultural shift within the organization.
Yeah. The biggest myth for businesses of this size is that they're too small to be hacked. Everyone reads the newspapers and learns about some of how many big hospitals, for example, have been hacked. Ticketmaster and Target and Gmail was hacked, for heaven's sake. And these get a lot of play in the news, but in reality, small businesses are as much, if not more, of a target because of the expectation that they can be caught with their pants down, and I'm finding that to be true. I'm not sure of the percentage, but I bet it's over 75% of the clients that come to me post breach. And
Yeah.
that's a shame. It's a shame. And it's definitely an area that proactivity is so much better because undoing a breach and cleaning everything up is much more difficult than putting in our monitoring agents and building in some resilience for them before breach. So, if the viewers take away one thing today, I hope it's that you are very likely to be breached and it's much better to be prepared.
Yeah, no doubt. I feel like, to your point, like small, medium businesses never feel like they're the target. When in reality,
Mhm.
they haven't put any controls, they haven't put any training, they haven't put any technology behind their cybersecurity. And it's a big economy, right? Like, why spend tens of hours trying to hack Facebook or Gmail when you can spend 1 hour trying to hack a small, medium business and get paid with a lot less risk? It's just
Exactly. And we live in a world now with hackers where they can go on the dark web and buy, I call it hacking as a service, where they don't even actually have to have hacking skills. We all picture from the movies some guy in a hoodie. That's not it anymore. It's just somebody with the credit card that goes on the dark web and buys the software out of the box and starts doing their mischief. So, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. I hate to be Debbie Downer, but that's the case. Though, fortunately, at the same time, AI tools and other cybersecurity tools at our disposal have gotten better and better as well. So it's kind of like the battle of the bots out there right now when it comes to cybersecurity.
not so funny. So, what are some of the trends that you're talking about that you're currently seeing more and more often?
Well, how to put it? So I like my clients to think about, like, I can't really say zero trust ZTNA to them and start spouting the pillars because that's not going to resonate with them. So I like this analogy. So imagine that your business is a castle and castles have a moat, a drawbridge, they have the main gate, they have the portcullis and etc. So there's all these layers because hackers will get bored. So, and they'll move on to the next easy target. So, if we have all of these different layers of monitoring and breach controls and quarantining and etc., then we can just exhaust them before they get to the keys of the kingdom to extend the metaphor. Though the biggest trend, I'm afraid, is all of those systems are only as good as the sentinel at the gate. And if an email or something tricks that sentinel into clicking a link in their email, then all or most of those security features can be undermined. So for me, the biggest trend and also the most frequently forgotten is absolutely the employee training. It is critical to this. And it used to be that we all would get these weirdo emails that were from like the Sheikh of Arabib, and he would gladly give you $10,000 if you cash this check for him, and you just have to give him your bank account. Who felt I no shade to anybody who did, but we got very accustomed to that sort of thing. But today, they've gotten really slick. They can find out who your boss's name is. And then if they have your number, they can text as that person. And some of these things are really, really tricky to see. I've come close myself a few times. If I wasn't a paranoid cybersecurity specialist, I totally would have gotten tricked. But I never click on anything in any link in an email without calling that person and saying, I wasn't expecting something from you. Did you send it? And they'd be like, yes, click it, please. Better safe than sorry. And I think nobody today is going to think you're odd for doing that kind of thing.
Better somewhere.
Yeah, in an law firm as a client for a while, and one of their clients was breached, and they somehow created an invoice that looked so real that from the law firm, I'm not sure how these hackers did it. They were really good. So they went into my client's documents, found a letter from my client, turned it into ACH instructions, and tried to get paid. Luckily, that client was very savvy and she knew that this was something was fishy. And then they conversed and realized it. And then we went ahead and took care of it for them. But it was a opening because that particular client had declined a tool I suggested. So,
Now they realize, like you said, people
r-
usually come to you after they've been breached, and that's
yeah,
just human error for whatever
un-
reason. Like,
unfortunately, it is. Yeah.
part of the reason why I started this podcast series is for people to listen to these stories from real, like, thought leaders in the cybersecurity industry, because every business is a technology business. And it's like when you buy a car, you're not expecting to get in a car crash. Like, you're going to be careful about it and drive your car. But aren't you going to insure your car, just in case something were to happen? Or are you going to get insurance after you crash it? You know what I mean? Like, we have to be proactive about these things.
Yeah. Though some people wouldn't be about their car if it wasn't a law.
I mean, but don't we have laws nowadays to have cybersecurity in place if you're in financial services or HIPAA, for example, and health?
Yes, so very much so in healthcare. So HIPAA and high tech, its sister, so to speak, definitely regulate cybersecurity. In law, they don't actually have regulations, but the American Bar Association has guidelines that they strongly recommend that are really common sense ones and ever evolving. As industries start to do more and more online and in cloud, then of course they have to up their game as they go along and as they start to use more SaaS programs and store data in cloud and etc., which is the way it's going for a variety of reasons. But you do need to stay mindful about what you're doing and where you're putting it and how it's getting there, all of these things. One of my healthcare clients, wonderful, wonderful provider, and they use many contractors to provide their services and are very forward thinking, luckily, when it comes to cybersecurity. So they like to go past HIPAA. HIPAA is not the end, it's the minimum. And they're really serious about those things. And they just asked me yesterday to help them review and update their IT policy, their written IT policy. I was so pleased that they had a written IT policy that I was, of course, happy to do it. So that's another good takeaway for your audience, that you should have some kind of expectation document for your workers. When should they use a VPN? Which VPN? Not to do the log into the accounting software from Starbucks or, whatever these things, because again, their employee is the weakest link, so to speak, because they haven't been trained and they don't know. So if you have these policies for them to review, it brings a mindfulness around that. And that really strengthens anything that IT people and cybersecurity people like me can do. And, so it's highly recommended.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And, where do you see your business like in the next 6 to 12 months? Like, where would you like to actually be?
For my business. So we are still small and mighty, and growing. And so I would like to continue that growth, so that I would not have to be the CMO anymore and the COO and the accounting department. We're focusing now on not only mainly on healthcare, though any company that more the white collar, professional service providers, like law firms and accountants, also super great fit for us. We are starting to find as much, if not more, of a need for the fractional CTO services that we offer versus just the straight old IT support and managed service provision. And I'm really excited about that because again, it's a proactivity in that way. And a lot of the clients, more prospective ones we're talking about with fractional CTO services, have help desk support already. But those people are really great at what they're great at, which is answering questions about Microsoft 365, helping you get printer access and all of those things, which are critical to business efficiency. But they're not also in a position to stay up to date on all the different cybersecurity tools and how those are evolving. With the current administration's budget changes, there's a lot of shift now from government assistance to kind of from public to private when it comes to the battleground of cybersecurity. So I think we're going to see even more of a need of somebody with the strategy side, the big picture side for these clients who certainly can't drop 200 grand for a full-time CTO because it wouldn't keep them busy enough. But with my experience, I can certainly fill that role however many days a month makes sense and just help to support the infrastructure and IT department that they already have. So
Yeah,
I'm seeing that more and more of that whole fractional concept as more and more of a trend. I have friends that are fractional CFOs, COOs, CEOs, VPs of sales, and et cetera. And I think that that's really smart way for entrepreneurs and small businesses to free themselves up to do the parts of their business only they can do. And so I'm hopeful that that trend continues and that
yeah,
they
and
call me.
I ask, like, how do you, like, do you want to be like a fractional CTO for like different healthcare hospitals or organizations?
Optimally, yeah. So we have been doing that sort of work with our managed service clients already. That's one of the reasons when I ask clients, why'd you leave your past provider? What attracted you to us? And they always say the same thing, and that's proactivity. And so I kind of liken that to the fractional CTO role, if you will. So even a client that has 5 or 15 or 20 employees still needs somebody that's looking to bring efficiency through tech, answer questions when they want to add a new technology of any kind. Is that going to play well with the rest of what we have? When we go to implement it, if it's tech, they don't necessarily understand what the technical people from that vendor are talking about. So they've always needed us to step in and manage those projects in some way. And I think that that definitely is going to continue. And so then with the healthcare clients that we've been now supporting just in the fractional side, as I said, they usually have an IT person or a third party IT company, but they look at me to layer the HIPAA compliance onto that because it is such a specialty. And I have taken more HIPAA training courses than anyone should be subjected to ever. But now I like literally think about it in my sleep, literally. So that kind of thing. And just kind of watching the metrics around their IT tickets that they put in and looking for trends there. Um, are employees continually starting tickets for a particular software, a particular issue? I'm going to watch for that and then start to say, well, gee, perhaps that legacy system isn't serving you anymore, or, the server keeps hiccuping, or whatever that scenario may be. I knew that would happen. I'm sorry. That's my cat, Rocky. She's internet famous. So, yes. Anyway, as I was saying, so sometimes when the IT people are so in the trenches, it's hard for them to also notice those kinds of trends that keep popping up. So that's another one of the things that we might offer. And then finally, what I get asked to do a lot is auditing, especially when they're looking to add cybersecurity insurance
Mm,
to the practice. If you allow somebody in the know to do an audit first and remediate any shortcomings before you even apply, you'll likely get a much better premium than if you didn't. Just like if you want to get life insurance and then they come in, they tell you, well, it'll be this much a month. And then they come in take the blood test and the blood pressure and stuff and adjust it up or down depending on how healthy you are. The same kind of thing applies with cybersecurity insurance. So somebody like myself that can come in and take a look and also help fill out the form, because if you're not in IT, the form can be very confusing. Like, what all is that? And then they see it. Didn't they ask me that already? But they asked it in another.
And that makes the most sense. And, like, what about your journey has really defined you as a person to be here today, Brandon? What is like a message that you would like the audience to take home as an entrepreneur, as a woman in tech? Oh, God. You're such an inspiration, Brandy. And to all of those fun girlies that might need a mentor or might need someone to guide into the journey, how can people go ahead and connect with you and find you? Lots of value, you guys better. Well, thank you, Brandy. It's been such a great honor having you on the show today. Really appreciate your time.